Hi, it's Jim Gillow. Welcome to another edition of 20 Minutes in 2020. We're very excited to have Gary Hernbroth with us. He's titled as a strength and conditioning coach. He provides motivational speaking and solid tools and solutions through his customized business coaching. What's really cool is he partners with clients such as national, regional associations, hospitality, hotels, CVBs, DMOs, convention centers, small business, public sector, high-tech firms, and Fortune 500 companies. And he's been in the hotel industry previous to this for 17 years, so both on the sales and operations side. So welcome, Gary. Thanks for being here.
Jim, thanks very much for having me, and it's good to talk to a fellow Midwestern guy.
Yeah, so you're originally from the Midwest. You're out there near San Francisco in Danville, California.
Correct,
And,
yeah.
And you, did you work in the Midwest at all?
I did. I started there. I went to school, graduated from Michigan State University with a hospitality management degree. And I started at what is at the time the Western International Hotels, as they called it, which everybody knows now as Westin, at the Detroit Plaza Hotel at the Renaissance Center. It's that big building in downtown Detroit with 4 towers around it. Now it's all Ford, but it's a Marriott now, but that was a Westin, and I started there. I got my start there, and liked the business. And I thought, So I finished my schooling up. They brought me in as a summer kind of an intern guy in sales and marketing to kind of learn the ropes. And they came up with an offer after college, but so did the Westin St. Francis in San Francisco. And I had a real tough decision to make. And it was actually my boss who said, Gary, as much as I'd like to have you back here, that's a great hotel. You've been recruited by them. If you can go there, there's 2 places in Weston at the time, Jim, you wanted to go to really springboard a career. One was the Plaza in New York, and the other one was the St. Francis in San Francisco. And I'm, never really, done too much in New York, but had an uncle on the West Coast. I said, that sounds a little bit more my thing. So my wife and I packed up our covered wagon and we headed over the Sierra Mountains to San Francisco from East Lansing. So been here ever since. Came out and loved it. And that wasn't my only job out here, but it was my initial job. So
how many years now?
I was 17 in hotels and 25 since I founded Training for Winners.
Okay, great. So you transitioned into so many different things as far as a trainer, a business coach, and you're also writing a book. And let's try to hone in on that a little bit. So toss out your old business plan and never let a crisis go wasted. Before you answer that, are you still a Lions fan, or did you switch to the San Francisco 49ers?
No, I still have loyalties in Detroit because I feel so sorry for them. They haven't won a championship since the year I was born. And I'll let people look that up to see exactly how long that's been. Yeah, I suffer with them. And the Tigers, of course, the old English D and all that. So I'm very much a Tigers fan and a Red Wings fan. So sorry. I did have your Blackhawks as clients, though, when I was booking sports teams in the hotel. So.
Nice. Yeah. So you speak of the Blackhawks. A good friend of mine is the national anthem singer for the Blackhawks.
Oh, okay.
Jim Cornelison. So
okay. Yeah. I booked them. I can tell you because I posed with a picture welcoming them to the hotel with their goalie Eddie Belfour.
Years ago.
Yep.
Nice.
Good goalie. But yeah, I love sports.
So you've got a lot to say when it comes to, our topic today, which is never let a crisis go to waste, throwing out the business plan, and I'll let you kind of present that a little bit.
Well, thank you, Jim. It does play with, you mentioned my book, and here's the shameless plug, but it's going to be called Twisting the Familiar, which is kind of taking what we know to exist as kind of a familiar thing and then kind of twisting it. Whether it's a different color, a different shape, a different way of doing things, so that we don't just be vanilla among the crowd, right? So you want to stand out among the crowd. You want to do things that are different. And of course, that's a beautiful setup for people in the hospitality industry because everyone's looking for that edge. Every destination has its own wonderful things that they sell against other destinations. They want to be attractive to customers and tourists and travelers and business, everything in the gamut. And by twisting the familiar or taking the unusual, it lends itself to this industry, I think, beautifully. The issue is sometimes people don't usually gravitate toward that. They fall to the comfortable, or they take the easier route, if you will. And frankly, I've been in the industry long enough, I think, to say this, is I've seen a lot of trends. You know how the pendulum swings one way or the other, right? Buyer's market, seller's market, somewhere in between. And the hospitality industry, and I can say this because it's my own, it's my love. You can call your own warts warts, right? That's the old saying. One of the warts is that we've gotten arrogant at times over the last 2.5, 3 decades, right? So it's a really, really good seller's market. I think sometimes hospitality people have gotten a little the arrogance of success, as it were. Now, this COVID crisis certainly knocked the snot out of our business, and it knocked everybody off that perch. So what do you do now? How do you twist the familiar now? How do you, what do you mean never let a crisis go wasted? What does that really mean? You learn from things going wrong, or like I say, shift happens. That's an SHIFT there, just to keep your show on a family channel. But, you learn from when shift happens, or you should learn from when shift happens. And so by that, I mean a crisis, and it doesn't have to be a crisis on the realm of the COVID, but that's certainly the one we're going through right now. And it's a world epic event in the wrong way. But any little crisis, whether you're short a person on staff, or a customer throws you a curveball with their program, a day before the program or whatever, and you go, oh, this is a crisis. How do we deal with this? Well, you deal with it and you learn from that, and you say, you know what? That customer actually forced us to change something or look at something differently. Maybe we could do it a different way. Maybe we could think a different way. Maybe we could look at things and maybe offer it a different way than we were doing it. So sometimes those curveballs, if you will, they rock you a little bit, but you come back and you go, okay, let's get ready for the next curveball. And so in business, you get a chance, hopefully, if you're put your creativity hat on, to think, what did we learn from this? And how can we be ready for this next time? And maybe, and this is the beauty of it, we can actually use it as a moment of innovation. We can actually innovate from this change that somebody else threw at us. And we weren't looking for it, but the crime would be to have it happen and try to go on with things as you did before, as in this COVID. Or what do you do with it now? You take it as an opportunity to innovate and do things differently. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what I'm trying to get across in this idea.
Yeah, and then also, not just innovation, but doing things for your brand right now. My thing is, my philosophy is, if planners, are not booking or planning events right now,
right,
because they're at home and they don't have any meetings or events to plan, they might be planning some virtual events now, which I know are happening. However, there's a lot of planners that are just sitting on the sidelines right now. What are they doing right now? They're Googling. They're doing their research right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for venues. They're looking for new ideas and everything else, just like you're saying. And in marketing, like if you're a hotel or a venue or a restaurant that is absolutely closed right now for 30 days, if not another 15 here in Chicago, it might happen. That's the time to start marketing and get your brand message out. Let them know you're going to make it through this if you're going to make it. Right. Or, put out some positive vibes, maybe even offer some future reservations at, what % off. But those are the innovative moves that I've seen some people been making. And I do think that's kind of smart if you can do it. I'm not saying that,
right,
everybody can. So right, some things like that.
Well, it's definitely a kick in the pants moment that we're living through right now.
Yeah.
I think that even if you look at if you've got children at home, they may have been stuck in a learning rut at school, and all of a sudden they have to learn from home. They have to submit homework via what we're doing now, or maybe through emails. I mean, you've got first, second, and third graders doing homework via emailing their teacher. When has that ever happened before? So this is one of those kick in the pants moments, whether it's socially, whether it's health wise. I mean, we're certainly learning a lot about, maybe the future of our health and how do we come back to a conference and shake hands? I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll be a long time before we shake hands. I don't know. But even on that scale, so, socially, through health, and very much professionally, what are we learning from this? And it's interesting. I hear this, and I want to give the folks some takeaways here. And one of the things is, throw out your old rule book. And I mean that with kind of a wink, because I say you can't throw everything out that you've done, because you're going to have to fall back on your strengths sooner or later, because that's what made you great. It's going to be in the delivery, maybe a different way, or offering the customer a different twist, if you will, back to that word, of what you used to do. But there are certain core things that made you great. And I believe people are going to want to get those core things again. They're going to want to return to that. They want to go to baseball games again. They're going to want to go to golf and play golf tournaments again. And they're going to want to do those things again. And networking. And it's so very, very important. We're learning kind of a new curve now with these Zoom meetings and what we're doing today, you and I speaking on video. And maybe we wouldn't have had a chance to speak like this in a normal world. Why would we have gotten on video today? However, it's given you and I an opportunity to make a connection, stronger connection, right? And other people to learn in a different way. But I also think that you have to draw back to your core strengths and go, hey, we're still as great as we used to be, but we're maybe a different kind of great for you. That's going to be a challenge for marketing teams, and salespeople have to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and you've spoken for ASAE, PCMA, a lot of the associations that all of us know.
Right.
What were those topics that you were speaking on then, and how do you pivot now today? Because if you're going to change the way of your thinking, you're either going to have to alter some of those possibly, or I don't know what those topics were. But
well, it's interesting you asked that, because, and I didn't see COVID coming. Certainly, I'm not taking any credit for that. But there are certain things that I always try to get through to salespeople, whether or not some of them may be listening or not. And one of those is cycles end, and then they come around again, right? So there's an old line in a George Harrison of the Beatles. There's an old line in one of his songs, and to paraphrase it is, the darkness doesn't last forever, but neither does the light. If you think about it, just in the cycle of a 24-hour day, right? So you've got a dawn that doesn't last, it turns into night, and then the night doesn't last from dusk on, it gets light again in the morning. And if you think about that as a business cycle, kind of an idea, a mantra, you think to yourself, bad times don't last forever, but neither do the good times. So how do we take advantage of those good times so we're ready when the less times come, the darker times come, the nighttime comes, I've been talking about topics. Let's take customer service, for instance, Jim. I always preach this. When I say don't ever let a good crisis go, I always talk about managing on sunny days versus cloudy, rainy, stormy days. And what do I mean by that? It's an analogy. Everybody loves to manage things when everything's hunky-dory, right? The sun is out. It's, what I mean by the sun is out is everything's running fine. Business is up. The cash registers are going to ching. Everybody's happy. Smiles all around. It takes a different kind of manager, and it takes a different kind of talent for someone to take those kinds of things and then manage well in cloudy, rainy, stormy days. You've got 3 people that call in sick. The customer doesn't show up with what they said they were going to show up with. The deliveries don't happen. And that really tests the true mettle of a manager and a leader. Not so much what they do on a sunny day, because those are the easy days. What do you do in those cloudy, rainy, stormy days? Salespeople, same thing. It's easy to sell, Jim, when the leads are coming in. You've got, I speak about sales funnels. And as a matter of fact, here's an irony. I spoke to the Georgia Association of CVBs in November. Now, that's about 6 months ago, give or take. And I talked about keeping your pipelines full, your sales funnel full, if you will, right? And I think it resonated with the audience. I heard a lot of great comments about it. But I'm wondering if some people weren't sitting there going, why am I listening to this? because my funnel is full. You know, my leads are flowing. I don't have enough time in the day to get back to all the leads that I've got. It's literally like holding your hand under a faucet, Jim. You're not going to capture all the water, are you? It's just not going to happen. You even if you have big hands, you put them under a faucet, you're going to lose some spillage. And I know that happens in this business. Well, I wonder what they're thinking now. And that pipeline went from that scenario to a total dry situation. Not even maybe a drip or two, but there's no pipeline anymore. So what we're going to have is in salespeople is the need, and you asked me what I've been preaching about, is not to become what I call, and I invented the name. It's a nickname for somebody in the business that doesn't really go out and hunt for leads. They gather them. I call those a responder. R-E-E-C-E, Ponder is the last name. So Reese is the first name, Ponder is the last name. And there's a lot of responders before COVID that really got under this anesthesia of success, if you will, and thought, well, my pipeline's full. We get a lot of leads from the bureau. We get a lot of leads from all the lead sources, that they're out there, third parties and whatnot. So I'll just rack them up. And now you're not going to be able to rack them up. Now you're going to have to go out and hunt again. And we talked earlier about that cycle. That's another cycle in this, although it's a deeper one than we've ever seen, but we've had cycles before. And it's going to take a new kind of thinking. And my personal question is the people that were more responding before COVID going to be able to turn on that different gear now and turn into hunters? And that's kind of where my role comes in as a performance coach and a trainer and a strength and conditioning coach, is to make sure that they have that gear to switch. We'll find out. Some will and some won't.
So when you talked about washing hands, I'll bet you everybody's washing their hands a lot today. Hopefully they are, because but you make such great points as far as, everything's going to change right there. If you're a salesperson, you're going to be a salesperson. Now, it all depends on how quickly, I would imagine, that the requests are going to come back in.
Yes. Yes.
But anyway,
there's certain things you should be doing now, Jim, that can move that along the way without what I call being salesy. I put out a LinkedIn post a couple of weeks ago, and I challenged salespeople on that with my coaching hat on again. I said, I'm going to throw a challenge out to salespeople. And I preach this in the good days too. So this isn't just some COVID, MASH unit thing that I'm talking about, because we have it going on now. I preach this all the time. You should always make hay calls, or what the hay calls. That's H-A-Y, hay. And I posted a picture of a guy sitting on top of a bale of hay, actually, on his laptop. And it went along with my post, and it said, what's a hay call? It simply stands for, how are you? And here was my challenge to salespeople. Try reaching out to your customers and clients in days like this. When you mentioned they're sitting home, they don't have meetings to plan right now. They're trying to think about, how that's going to shake down in their organization, what their meetings are going to look like when they come back to life, all that kind of thing. A hey call is simply a how are you? You could be a customer of mine. I just pick up the phone. I can also do email and text, but I always say phone's the best in times like this. But you do what you can do. And I say, Jim, how are you? How are you doing in this? Are you doing video stuff, or how's that working out? Do you have, oh, Gary, and then you and I might share some stories about how we're dealing with COVID or our families or what have you. Not one time will I mention business, because that's not a hey call. A hey call needs to be pure and simple. And my challenge to salespeople on LinkedIn, and it got quite a few interesting comments, Jim, was hold back the urge or the temptation to sneak in one little sales, now, Jim, now don't forget, it was a great talking to you. I'm glad to hear the family's fine. I know that your kids missed Little League. They'll be playing again in the summer, and it really sounds good. Oh, and don't forget, Jim, that, when we get back from this, I really want to host your meeting. So when you get, that will blow the entire thing, right? I mean, we're humans. We aren't built to shelter for long periods of time. We need connections. And one of the reasons we want to feel like we're connected is who out there cares about me? You know, who, you know, you could sit there all day waiting for people to call you and check on you, but I always assume that I'm doing the checking. And you wouldn't believe the nice, gee, Gary, it's great for you to call. I don't remind them about a speaking gig. I don't talk to them about training. I don't, ask, it's just, how are you? And is there anything I can help you with, but not in a business sense, but maybe I've helped some of my small business friends with the business loan process, the PPP deal and all that going on.
Oh,
there is
okay.
a miasma of details and confusion about that. So I'm trying to help them with that, and they're trying to help me back. I mentioned buying a new camera, right? So I got a business tip from a buddy who was buying a new camera, and he said, Gary, check these out. You're looking for a new HD camera. Got a tip from him. I turned that back to somebody else who was looking at it for me. We're just keeping it to how are you? And here's the deal. Salespeople might be wired to say, but Gary, you've got them on the phone and you might not talk to them again in a while. And I need to bring, no, you don't need to bring any sales thing. Don't be salesy, because that ruins the whole moment. But they will remember you reaching out in a time like this, in a critical time like this, when out of the blue you contacted them and you had nothing to sell. Nothing to sell. It's so pure and beautiful. It's unbelievable. But salespeople sometimes are wired a little differently. They got to stick in the old company line. Don't do it. Don't do it. And that's just kind of a different tactic for some people to embrace.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant strategy to check in with your customers, your clients. You've taught me right now that I need to make a few phone calls. Secondly, I think I've always wanted to make more phone calls to my current customers. I think the only way we touch them is when we're sending those leads out from here, Chicago, from the website. So, but I should make the phone calls. And I know, my customers, we have really good relationships. Mm-hmm. So, and I wouldn't work with anybody where we did not have a good relationship. I'd be like, here, here's your money back. You don't need to be a member. I truly believe in if I'm going to send you a request from a meeting planner who's looking for a venue for 500 people, and I know you're not going to be able to service those customers, right, because you may not want to call them back, or you're not going to, treat them well, then, I'll cut you off. I'll be like, no, because that's our reputation. That's as an
and this, Jim, that's a huge word right there. If I could have a second to talk about reputation, because I think tough times are what really cements our reputation. I mentioned the sunny day manager versus the cloudy day manager earlier. That cements their reputation as a manager. And in the same way of reputation management, and I don't like how we attach the word management to everything in our lives these days, but I'll use it here just so we all know what I'm talking about. But reputation management or personal branding, I do a lot of personal branding work too. And it's times like this which really shows your true colors. And if you make the hey calls without putting business in there, that's going to make an impression. But you also, I have these tips coming up in my upcoming article. Be a Pathfinder for your customers and your friends and clients too. Some of them aren't working anymore. There's the interesting thing. I'm reaching out to a lot of my friends just to find out, are they still employed? Are they still working? And not because I want to find out, are you going to be booking any training or speaking, but just I'm concerned with them. They've been a friend for a long time. Maybe they've been furloughed. They're probably freaking out a little bit. I've also done calls to friends who are working out of the home for the first time. And I've had a home office for 25 years. So I may know a few things or a few little tips that might help them get through the time, because not everyone is suited to work out of the home, right? The grand adventure the first week or so, oh, this is neat. I've got time at home. I'm not running to meetings. They're not dragging me away down the hall for a meeting every 5 minutes. And then the novelty starts to wear off. And pretty soon, where we are probably now 4 or 5 weeks into this, is, okay, when can I go back to work, right? So there's that adjustment period, and maybe they need a little help, with some coaching on my part. to help them, be a home office, operator. But the other thing is what I mean by Pathfinder is if I find some useful information that I think is useful to you, I'll send you the email. Jim, if you were to tell me, Gary, I'm applying for my small business loan and I'm stuck in the mud, I'll find an article and I'll send it to you. Or if I have something happen to me that's a positive, or I learn a lesson, I'll send it to you. And I call that being a Pathfinder for you, Jim, just because I care about you. We may be friends of a degree 1 through 10. It doesn't matter. Longtime friend, recent friend, doesn't matter. But if I think someone can gain by something I found out for them, then I consider myself a Pathfinder, and I'll try to help them along. It's just one of the things you have to do. And I think reputation management right now is so critical for people to understand that their brand, you really have a unique opportunity. And that's why I say don't let a crisis go wasted in this, because you have a unique opportunity to help other people, and that will in turn help your brand. Not that there's a subliminal hidden agenda with that, but it's just human nature for people to remember who helped them out in a time of crisis on a cloudy, rainy day versus somebody who's always there on a sunny day.
Yeah, both professional and personal.
Yeah, I mean, the sad tale is, and you've probably heard these stories too, but I've helped people in transition their careers for many, many years. And if they're a planner, they say, gee, Gary, I don't get the calls and the emails I used to get when I could bring in meetings. And I'm like, ugh. Or I'll get calls from my hospitality friends, maybe they're in hotels or whatever. Gee, Gary, I don't get those calls anymore now that I can't comp somebody for a weekend or around on the golf course where I used to work. And that happens. So, do we just treat people nicely because they can do something for us? I don't think so.
Well, Gary, we can go on and on and on.
Sure.
This is, we try to give them tidbits of 20 minutes, and it's hard to do, especially with people like you who have so much to offer. But I really appreciate us connecting again, and hopefully this ain't the last time. If there's anything I could do to help you, hopefully this does too. So we're going to be ending here, but you can watch the video, but right below the video, you see Gary's bio there and his contact information. You've heard from him. You can contact him anytime. I'm sure, he's got a wonderful new camera on his computer. He'll come and, beam himself via Zoom into your office if you need him, I'm sure. Yeah. But I'm sure he's willing to travel too, just like he always has before. But Gary, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for giving us your time, your talent, your experience today. Reach out to Gary if you need any help. Do you have any parting thoughts, Gary?
Just for everybody to really understand that we're all going through some degree of something with this. And whether it's to be empathetic about something that happened to somebody or sensitive to them, we're going to change the way we do business. Maybe we're going to be a little friendlier doing business. I mean, that could be one of the things. But just think about others in this time, and pay it forward if you can. And not to sound that's trite or anything, we hear that phrase, pay it forward. What does that really mean? But what goes around comes around. And I think if you pay it forward in times like this, people will remember that, and I think they'll remember you quite favorably. So take this crisis and use it for what you can, and just be kind again.
Excellent. Well, that's why we're here with you today and trying to make things happen.
For having me.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. So, all right, guys, until the next one, we'll see you then on another edition of 20 Minutes in 2020. All right. Bye. Thanks.